How's it going, guys? Ethan here. Welcome back to the channel. On this video, it's going to be something a little bit different. I'm sitting down here in my home office at the moment, and I stumbled across this old article written by Gene Wensel in the October-November issue of Traditional Bowhunter magazine in 1994, and it was an interview with John Schultz, who was John Schultz was the successor, if you will, after Howard Hill. Howard taught him and his brother everything that he knew about archery and how to make longbows. And John Schultz had a very successful bow making business, Schultz Archery and so on. And in this particular interview, John, from a prompted question by Gene, had some very interesting answers to an interesting question. And you guys ought to know by now that if I find something interesting, then there's a good chance I'm going to share it with you as it pertains to the archery world or the hunting community. And this was certainly the case. So without any way plagiarizing any of this, I'm reading it directly from a printout of the article. I'll link the article in the description below so you guys can go read it for yourself. It's a great article, a great interview where John Schultz talks about how he got his starts in archery and bow making and where he was at with his bow making business at the time, and some other cool facts and stuff about both John and John talking about Howard in this interview. But I'm just going to read this excerpt, if you will, just this one section of John's response to one of Gene's questions, and just kind of let it speak for itself and hash it out a little bit at the end. The article is Master of the Arts by Gene Wensel, an interview with John Schultz. And the latter half, almost at the very end of the article, Gene asks, give us some of your thoughts on bow hunting today. In response to this, John says, I've never been known as a fence straddler, so there's no need of changing now. High tech makes me want to divorce myself from archery. If I was after the kind of accuracy and speed so many of today's archers request, I'd just unlimber my old 270. When Dan, John's brother, Dan Schultz, when Dan and I grew up, we hunted with rifles and shotguns to the point where there was little challenge left. That's why we took up the bow in the first place. Face paint, military camo, tree stands, estrus lures, breath camo, etc. It may be efficient, but in my opinion, that ain't hunting. I'd rather slip up on a big gray-nosed muley in his bed and miss the shot than kill 5 average deer from a tree. Sour grapes? Not so, because I've certainly killed my fair share stalking. Fred Asbell had an excellent article a while back on setting personal hunting goals. What's your bottom line? Keeping score so you're a better hunter? Number of kills don't necessarily make a bow hunter. One fellow told me he had killed over 50 deer from one tree stand in a persimmon patch, none over 15 yards away. My reply, in a situation like that, you ought to be able to load your pickup truck with deer. I'm afraid with many, it's a big ego problem that eventually affects credibility. It all boils down to how you set your values. I've killed one animal from a tree stand. That was enough for me. I used to think it strange when Howard mellowed towards killing game. Now I'm beginning to understand. I still love bow hunting, but anymore, the kill is just the frosting on the cake. I have some very strong feelings on Bowhunter image. I can't relate to the new breed of sloppy looking dudes who pass themselves off as slobs. Many of them are good hunters and fine shots, yet they don't seem to care how they appear to the non-hunting public. It's almost as if it was cool to appear as an uncouth slob. I've seen them sitting in the back of a pickup in a full camo, face paint and all. Road hunting? What are they using for brains? Maybe those deer can't see them in the bed of that pickup truck. We won the National Bowhunter several times against major bow company teams. We were the only team that never wore military camo. I abhor military camo. Somebody did a whale of a marketing job on that stuff. One fellow I know even wears camo underwear. Any observant follower of Howard Hill would be quick to note he always looked neat and well dressed, even in hunting camp. Hill had class. You'll never see me in a military camo unless they dress me in it for my funeral. Camo arrows are real good for the arrow business. Think that one over. One year, just to prove a point to myself, I built a bow with white glass on both sides, shot white shafts with white feathers, and used that outfit to kill a nice buck. Both of us had our feet on the ground when I shot him too. Howard waxed his bows to a polish. I do the same. I feel bow hunting skill is not in how much military camo you wear, but how well you know your quarry and how good you can stalk. Want the bow hunting thrill of a lifetime? Make about an hour stalk on a bedded critter, get up within 20 yards and arrow him. That's hard to improve on. When I'm hunting, I like to keep it between the animal and me. Incidentally, I don't harvest game, I kill it. I think what I found so interesting about that article, just that snippet of it, the whole article is fantastic, is that this was written 30 years ago, 31 years ago, and it could have easily been written this year. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm a traditional elitist or purist in the sense that I think that, wearing camo is a bad thing, or that some of the things that he's very passionate about is, if you're not passionate about it, then you're less of a hunter. I think the biggest takeaway that I have from this article, and from the way that John feels so strongly about these things, is not only was he very closely associated with Howard Hill, who Howard Hill arguably, if not the best, one of the best bow hunters of all time, right up there with men like Paul Schaefer and so on, Fred Bear, legend. And John was very, very close to him, pretty well a son figure, in a sense, to Howard. Him and his brother Dan both. So he was very well adapted, and Howard's own wife said that there's nobody to better represent her husband, how he was as an archer, a bow hunter, a bow maker, everything on that part of Howard's life. Nobody she ever met or knew represented that better than John Schultz. So if John felt this way, you know that Howard felt this way as well. And what I'm getting at, because that's the way I thought as I read this article, is that how far have we fallen in bow hunting from our predecessors who were extremely successful, very lethal hunters with very high success rates, and sometimes, if not even very much so, more primitive gear. And just the way that he talks about military camo, because of course commercial camouflage is not very widely known at the time in the hunting scene, but just he said, I abhor, I despise the concept of wearing camouflage and looking like a slob, and he takes care of himself. Howard cared about his appearance. He looked neat, and he was neatly kept in person, in and out of hunting camp. He was just himself all the time. And if you look up pictures of Howard Hill or John Schultz, pictures of them with game, the clothes that they had on, and the way that they were kept, the way that they presented themselves as a person, that with couth, they could have just as easily been sitting on a park bench reading a newspaper as standing, over a, that day's harvest or whatever. But it just caused me reason to pause and think about how far we have fallen in bow hunting, how commercial driven bow hunting is. I've talked about this stuff before, and I won't go on and on about it, but I also won't add to what John has said or put words in John's mouth, but I wonder really what he would think about, right now, even though he's only been gone a few years, what he thought of the bow hunting scene by the time he had passed. It's something really to think about. If our predecessors even felt that strongly about things like wearing camouflage and hunting from tree stands, and they had the success to back it up, is that reason for us to maybe rethink our approach on some things? Is that reason for us to maybe learn how to take some things more and less serious than others, and really examine on whether we are hunting or grocery shopping per se, or farming animals? If we're keeping the sport and the thrill and the fair chase as part of what we're doing, or if it's just blood sport, if it's just a game. And you can tell by how he feels about it, it's definitely not a game to him. It's a very important thing to him, and bow hunting meant a lot to him. It was a big part of his life, big part of Howard's life. So I just wanted to share those words from John and with you guys, and let that sink in with you. See what you think. See what those words make you think about. For me, I think about a lot of stuff whenever I read that, and a cause for self-examination, self-evaluation. I think that's always a healthy thing to do, and right application on how seriously I take some things that I shouldn't. Is there any reason to focus so much on all these trinkets and gadgets and gizmos at all, and just get back to the basics of, quiver over your back, a few arrows, some judos, some blunts for small game, some flus, and some broadheads, longbow, street clothes, and just hunt. So anyway, video's been long enough. Just want to share that with you guys. Again, I'll put the link to this article for you to go read the whole thing for yourself. Definitely worth the read, and see what you think, and soak up some of this wisdom from Mr. John Schultz himself. So thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'll catch you next time.